afternoon. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Rules and Procedure Committee for the City of Aurora. Today's date, October 7th, 2025. The time 3:02 p.m. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Chairperson Edward J. Bug.
Here.
Vice Chair Daniel Barrero.
Here.
Alderman Javier Benuelos.
Here.
Alderwoman Shweta Bade.
Here.
Alderman at Large Will White. 4 present.
Thank you very much. We have a pretty full agenda. We're going to move things around as necessary and get right into it. So we need the approval of the minutes. 25-0745, approval of minutes to RAP Committee meeting held on September 16, 2025. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it 4-0. Clerk, do we have anyone for public comment today?
Yes, we do.
Please read the rules for public comment.
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the RAP Committee for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair, for the purpose of maintaining order, may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the RAP Committee shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comments. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comments.
Thank you very much. Clerk, can you please call the first person who is signed up?
The first speaker is Delilah Backos.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You have 3 minutes. You can begin now.
Okay. I apologize. I didn't know there was going to be this many people, so I didn't give you guys all packets today. But I'm here again. My name's Delilah Bakos. I am a resident of Aurora. I know backyard hens are not on today's agenda, but since I last spoke, I gathered more new information that I wanted to share. So the packets that you guys have is everything printed out. I reached out to Animal Control for some follow-up questions, but unfortunately they were not able to answer. Instead, I had to file a FOIA request. And then after that, I was only able to get a call log for 2 weeks. As you can see in the packets, the first 2 weeks in June, I highlighted that there were 8 calls out of 180 calls that they received. And out of those, 6 of them were about roosters. Unfortunately, I can't tell if some of the calls were from the same caller or if it's about the same house. Also in that packet, you'll see that the information I was able to get from the forest preserves of Cook County. Their research not only shows that coyotes have been here since 1980s, but they're attracted more to garbage, pet food, and rodents, not hens. Last thing in the packet is a follow-up email from Sugar Grove's Community Development Director confirming that their chicken program is cost neutral and manageable, which adds them to the list of the other nearby towns that report the same. Aurora's ban hasn't stopped people from getting chickens. It's just left them without guidance. A pilot program with clear rules, no roosters, limits on hens, secure coops, permits, fenced-in yards would allow the city to regulate responsibility and track real outcomes. I hope you will all review the packet, and I'll be sending another revised one to everyone, but that one of you would consider bringing this back onto the agenda for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Clerk, do you have any other speakers for public comment?
No one else has signed up.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to, since we do have the full packet, we're going to do the appointments, get those out of the way, and then get on into other matters. So we're going to do 25-0747 resolution authorizing the appointment of Shaheen Spears to the Aurora Housing Authority Board.
So moved.
Second.
Staff, is someone coming forward?
Good afternoon, RAP Committee. I'm Nicholas Richard Thompson, Deputy Chief of Staff in the Mayor's Office. I have in front of me Shireen Spears' application as well as their resume. We are moving forward with supporting her appointment to the board. She has been a long time activist in the community, an advocate, and working directly with a lot of the impacted populations, and has done work with service agencies like AID and Home Care Aid, and has been just a very, very active community member who we believe would represent the best interests of folks in the Aurora Housing Authority and be able to support and serve that board with integrity.
Excellent. Any questions or comments from the committee? Any questions or comments from our colleagues? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it 4-0. Next item, 25-0757, resolution approving the appointment of Stacy Peterson to the Aurora Police Pension Board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff? I mean, we don't have to have a staff.
I mean, this is pretty perfunctory, just
Right,
as
it
her,
is.
as city treasurer, is always appointed to the pension boards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I'm going to read in the record 25-0759, a resolution approving the appointment of Stacy Peterson to the Rural Firefighters Pension Fund Board.
So moved.
Second.
Same situation there. The chief financial officer is by ordinance appointed to these boards. So on the first one, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it 4-0 on 25-0759. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it 4-0. Next one is 25-0784, resolution authorizing the appointment of Pat Sutton, Louise DeLocke to the Aging and Community Advisory Board.
Hello again. Yes, I have both applications and resumes of Pat Sutton and Louise in front of me. The board chair have met with both of them and recommended to the mayor's office to put them forward, looking at their kind of expertise. Pat in particular has worked as a licensed clinical social worker for 10 plus years and is an accredited case manager and works deeply with this population. So we believe they would be a great addition to the board, as well as Luis has worked in nursing, education, with the aging population, and as well as our disabilities community and population as well for 10 to 15 plus years. So recommending them both.
Excellent. Questions or comments from
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Alderman Rivera?
I noticed there's both of these individuals reside in the 9th Ward, and how does that look with respect to the other members serving on their, are there in other parts, other wards in the city?
Yeah, so I don't have the current makeup right now, but what we have done, what we're trying to do going forward, and we did send an email a couple months ago, kind of soliciting if you all had any, the entirety of the council to be clear, had any like people that you would suggest would be moved forward for some of these boards. These were like some of the only applications for this particular board, so we moved forward with them. But we're always open to trying to be equitable with that and keeping that in mind and being cognizant of how the city's being represented by wards. So always open to that conversation. But what we're also trying to do is we're going through kind of a revitalization period with the boards and commissions. Actually, right now, we actually just sent out a survey to all the chairs and all the boards, and we're currently just getting feedback and information similar to our town halls that we did for the community. We're trying to get information from those who serve on the boards and commissions to see how we can make them more operational. There had been some complaints that a lot of them were not meeting quorum, thus were not fulfilling some of their duties. So we're trying to get all the boards right now to be full, and to make some reorganization with how the boards slightly function. But before we do that, we discuss with council, and we're discussing with the boards themselves. So the goal of this is really try to make sure the boards are fully operational, and we're looking at the applicants that have applied thus far, and we're going to be doing a pretty aggressive push on social media as well, trying to get a bunch of applicants from across the city. Some people just don't know the boards exist sometimes. I run across people all the time, or don't know what they fully do or how they operate. So we are going to be more intentional about filling the boards and commissions. At this point, they're both from the 9th Ward, but we will try to be more cognizant about that in the future, and it is part of our calculus going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Alderwoman Bay.
Thank you, Chairman. Nick, there is no resume attached, so this application is considered as the resume?
There's no resumes at all
For Pat.
for
Sapna.
Pat. I can attach Pat's. I'm sorry about that. I can get that to you. I have it in front of me, but you don't have it, so I do
Yeah,
apologize
okay.
about that. But I can
No
send that right after this.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Alderwoman Bade, second from Alderman Benuelos. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nays? None? That passes 4-0. Are either of the two proposed appointees present? If you could please stand. Okay. And our next matter, last matter for appointees, 25-0785, resolution authorizing the appointment of William Hubble, Caitlin Kosaski to the city's advisory commission for disabilities.
Chairman, again, the resume of Caitlin is missing.
Okay. Staff, do we want to speak on this one?
Hello again. So these particular appointments, I talked to the chair. I don't have their resumes in front of me, but I spoke with Katrina Boatwright, who is the liaison for that particular board, and she has recommended it, and as did the chair, and the board looked over it. So the mayor's office is confident with this appointment and approvals.
Okay, thank you. And just as a point of discussion, the new administration, and every administration does things differently, they've now been including part of the actual application, although redacted. That wasn't the case before normally. So I don't know if this is going to take the place of actual resumes. It has a good piece of information there, the person's actual application, so they put their interest and those things in lieu of, possibly in lieu of a resume. Because you're not required, when you apply, you're not required to submit a resume. You're required to submit the application. So if they have a resume, of course, we would, more information is better for us, at least. But possibly that could be the case for her. I don't know, but that could be the case. Any rate,
Can I say something?
certainly.
When we see the resume, it is good for the candidate as well as for us to understand the person better. The form has very limited places where they can add all the things that they have done. They can't add as much on a form. So I would suggest we continue having resume. It's more important than this application.
Okay. Oh, no, I
We can
understand.
have both.
I understand that, but in our ordinance right now, it is not required. So we would have to bring that to this committee
Okay.
and suggest that we require a resume when you apply for board, if we want to do that, or have that discussion. But right now, it's not a requirement. You have to fill out the application, get it to staff, and they review it, and then it comes here. So a resume is not required. So, okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Motion was from Alderwoman Bade, second from Alderman Benuelos. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it 4-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. Before we get into the real meat, I guess we will go to the light meat, which we'll call 25-0750, ordinance amending Section 8-131 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to video gaming terminal regulations.
Hello. So we are seeking to amend the city code to align with the state law and increase the number of video game terminals permitted in the city of Aurora. This vision, and then can we go to, yep, that slide. The primary purpose for this is to amend the city's video gaming ordinance to increase revenue for both the city and local businesses. These changes will bring Aurora into alignment with new state regulations. Currently, there are 37 establishments which have 5 video game terminals, except for one which has 4. And this change would do our current maximum of 200 and move it from 200 to 240. And we want to adapt Aurora's ordinance on the video gaming machines from 5 to 6, actually. So the 5 to 6 and then 200 to 240 would be the total of those machines. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So there's been some projected revenue on this, and the increased revenue we project increasing the numbers of terminals from 5 to 6 would add an additional $56,000 in new revenue for the city. This is coming from numerous calls from businesses to align with the state law. From business support, local businesses have specifically requested this change, and by allowing the extra machine, we can increase their revenue streams while also increasing the licenses. We'd get money from the licenses. And again, this is going to be what the state already complies, so we're not doing anything out of the ordinary here. Other cities have already adopted and made the changes. And then if we go to the next slide. This is some of the alder people had requested in passing. The previous, they asked really about the operational. This has already been the case. These are not new changes, to be clear, but just for some of the newer folks in regards to some of the operational compliance. Each licensed location is limited to operating a maximum of 6 gaming terminals. If this were to change, all video gaming terminals must be placed within an area restricted to persons 21 years of age or over. The entrance to the restricted gaming area must be within the view at all times of at least one employee who is also 21 years of age. And no establishment licensed by Illinois Gaming Board shall be permitted to operate any video gaming terminal in the city pursuant. So that's the basics they're asking, or essentially like, can kids have access to these? Young people know that it's never been the case, and they have pretty strict guidelines and compliance regulations already. And if they were not, the state license would be revoked, as with the city. So that's the gist of it. Moving from 5 machines from each location to 6. Currently, we have 38 establishments which are operating these machines. All of them operate 5 machines, the maximum that they're allowed, except for one, which I think is due to the configuration of the building. They probably would operate more if they could, but that's the basic gist of it. Happy to take questions or elucidate anything that didn't make sense.
Questions or comments from Alderwoman Bay?
So we are increasing the numbers. If an existing business who has 5 machines, will that business be given a preference to go to 6, or a new business who wants to have first machine be given a preference, or it's just first come first serve?
It would be
on the application?
It would be first come first
Basically.
serve. We moved it to 240, and that would also allow for 3 new establishments as well, give or take, given everybody's usually taking the maximum, except for the one where there's that one area where there's 4 because of kind of how it's configured. But it would be first come first serve. We wouldn't give any special treatments to anybody.
So suppose there are 6 businesses who apply before these businesses who want to increase the number of equipments or machine at their location. Will they be given preference?
There'll be no preferential treatment. I think there is 1 or 2 applications that are currently being reviewed, but I don't think those are people who have been waiting to get a machine. So I think they're going to go off the doc of who has applied when, and then go based upon that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, just to step into this realm, you have to go through the city, but you have to go through the state. It's not an immediate thing. So the existing ones with 5 machines will be able to expedite this if they want to go to 6. before the whole thing, city, state approval, yeah. Okay. The only comment I want to say, and you can back me up on this, when this was brought up in the past, of course, we are a city who is very fortunate to have a casino in our city. The casino was contacted about this. They had no opposition to this in any way. They said this would not impact them. They were in favor of this, so that really does not play into this one way or the other, if anyone had that kind of in their mind, so.
I had that question.
Pardon?
I had that question.
Yeah.
We did
So-
contact them. Oh, sorry.
So, I mean, I want the new people to know, the reason we have 5 instead of 6 was to protect the casino, because the casino revenue per gambling unit creates more revenue per unit than these do. So it was our benefit to only have 5 or even less. That's why we did that, because otherwise, nobody knows why that would make sense. But we do get more money from casino revenue versus gaming. So going forward, even though the casino's on board with that, have we done the math on that? Do we know what potential impacts that? Because you may say we're getting 56,000 here, but if our goal before was to create more revenue because of less machines, do we know if that's going to make an impact? Because we don't want to have less net revenue, even though 56,000 more here, are we going to lose revenue from the casino? And that would be my financial question.
For sure. We can definitely look deeper into that. We did talk to the casino. We did communicate with them. They didn't have any issue. They have a meeting coming up with them, and then I can have finance look into maybe some of the more intricate numbers and how this would have that impact. As of right now, all we've done is preliminary looking at what it would generate from the new licenses, not necessarily kind of the economic kind of dimensions of these new machines and what those impacts are. But we can certainly do that.
Well, right, I mean, the worst thing we could do is say we got 56,000 here, but we lost 70,000 here. We don't want to really have that math. If
Right.
56,000 or more is better, then that's good. So I think we should take a look at that, just to make sure that we're going to be, doing a better job of creating revenue as opposed to losing revenue.
For sure.
Okay. And I totally appreciate my colleague's comment. I think in short time, we will not be comparing apples to apples, because of course we all know our new casino is going to open within a year. It'll be a totally different realm, completely different. So you really won't be comparing what we have right now with the 6 gaming machines in those establishments. So it's going to be vastly different once we open our new casino. So, but excellent comment from my colleague, and that's very important to be cognitive of all of our partners in the city, are very important businesses, and of course we value, as I said, the casino. Not every city is fortunate to have a casino. Many of us know when we go to IML, we talk to cities who would love to have a casino. So we need to be aware of that and be great partners with them, and they are great partners. So no further comments?
Chairman?
Do we have one more comment? Alderman Barrero.
Yes, so I'm glad to see this come forward. This was on my priority list when I met with Mayor Lash and his staff. The reason I brought it up is because I have 5 social clubs in Ward 1, and I know 3 of them have these machines, and they rely on them to help keep their doors open. Even though they have a lot of members, they don't always attend, and this helps them to when they are busy, to just have more slots. And so what happens is that people go, on the Friday night, Saturday night, and there's only 5 machines. But if they had 6, they could have more people playing. But if you were to go right now, there's nobody in there. Maybe one person playing, possibly. But if you go to the casino, that's all day long. People are going in there to play. So there's no comparison. And the other thing I would say is the people that go to these social clubs, they go there to hang out with their friends. They're not the kinds of people that are necessarily going to the casino. This is not competition for the casino. These are people that are part of these clubs, and they go there for different reasons, and they bring their families and different types of sporting events or holidays, things like that. So I don't see this as any competition. I don't think it would harm the casino one bit. So I'm in favor of this. The only thing that I would like to see if there's a correction on, if you go back to the slide on the revenue, it looks like the slide had a higher number, a 155, versus the lower number that was being mentioned. So can you clarify that?
And which one are you referring to?
In the yellow there where it says 155 in additional revenue.
Yeah, so that would be the 155 from the added video game revenue, and then 56 in the licensing operations.
Okay, so, but I thought I heard 50-something thousand versus 155,000 in additional revenue. I just wanted to clarify that.
Sorry, let me be clear. So the potential new revenue, assuming there's 6 terminals allowed, if we were to do that, and then everybody went to 6, this is the number that we are suspecting just from the licensing of what we can guarantee, because we don't know if they're all
Right.
going to do 6. That's speculation. But what we can guarantee, like from the licensing, if they were to do it, it'd be the 56. Does that make sense?
Where is the 56 on this?
An increased revenue, we project that increasing the number of terminals will
it's real
generate an
small.
additional 56 in new annual revenue. It's the first bullet point. On slide 3.
I'll talk to you offline on that. And just doing.
It's good to
I'm looking
clarify.
at these other numbers over here in the yellow and the green. So that's where my confusion is.
Oh, okay.
Shannon Cameron, Chief of Staff. So the 56,000, so there's a fee to have the permits, and the 56,000 would be if we had that many, that would be increased revenue just for that fee
For the
that they have to
fees,
pay.
okay,
And then
okay.
the other number is the increased gaming tax revenue.
Okay, so if you add them together, that's 200,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That answers the question?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief of Staff. So, Mr. Thompson, if we could, we have a lot of the council here, but for those who aren't here, in that bullet point, and I understood what you were saying. So in that bullet point, can we just add in the words for licensing or for permit fees? And then in our yellow, the yellow's good, potential new revenue assuming 6 terminals allowed. So that'll kind of make a little bit of a distinction between the two.
100%.
Thank you, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Motion from
So moved.
Alderman Barrero, second from
Second.
Alderman Benuelos. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's go ahead all the way down. Our Chief of Staff, 25-0771, discussion on the carryover of capital and non-capital aldermanic ward funds. And for the members of the committee, if you refreshed, hopefully that repopulated with the additions. Everyone have that? Yes? Everyone has that? Okay. For the committee people, at least. Okay. If you want to begin, Mr. Jacobson, I can pick up after you.
Rich Jacobs, Chief of Staff, Office of Alderman. There has been a discussion about aldermanic funds and what happens when we received funds in 1 year and wanted to be possibly earmarked or used for a particular purpose for the following year. It developed into a larger discussion over capital funds and non-capital funds and what needs to be encumbered and budgeted and what can be held over for the following year to plan. And so what is attached is the current aldermanic initiative funds from the ordinance, and those that have been here for a few years know that this has been worked on for a very long time. And the additional document is possible changes, and I will defer to Alderman Bug about that.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction. So as our Chief of Staff stated, we have looked at this over the last couple of years, and we did some cleanup and clarification. We changed kind of what we used to call our pots, so a non-capital versus capital or community enhancement. We changed the numbers there a little bit with our finance committee. And because we did that in a certain year, we put in very specific language for the year that we did that, so we made sure everything was clear, and that was in 2024. So, I think the first suggestion did not get on here. So, of course, the first suggestion, proposed change, was very simply to remove the language that says 2024. That paragraph is obsolete now. 2024 is over. We could just remove that from the ordinance. That was the first suggestion. It just accidentally didn't get added here. So the second portion is just a clarification of pretty much what we already have. And so it reads number 6 under procedures of the ordinance, each, and that should say August, as Mr. Jacobs clarified for me, each August of the calendar year, alderpeople shall set their following year budget and possible carryovers in their budget meeting with the alderman chief of staff. That is a standard thing that our chief of staff does. It is done every year. It's been done every year, at least that I've been an alderman over the last decade. So, of course, we all sit down with the chief of staff, set our budget, and discuss possible carryovers that we could anticipate in August, although you won't know till December. Then it says these set parameters will then be relayed to the chief of staff, by the chief of staff to the city treasurer. Any additional carryover requests shall be relayed to the chief of staff and then the city treasurer prior to December 15th. So after your discussion in August, come December 15th, you will really know where you're at. Our pots right now are $37,500 in each. I think more so people are concerned about their community enhancement pot. If you have not spent all $37,500, by December 15th, you should know at that point in time, especially because we break well before the 1st, if you will have carryover amounts, at the end. We're not going to go up to 5 o'clock on December 31st for the sake of the New Year's Eve parties. So going on, if an alderperson has remaining funds in any account at the end of the fiscal year and they have not been designated to carry over, those funds shall automatically be carried over into the ward's capital account only for the next fiscal year. So if for some reason, and really we're trying I say we, our chief of staff is trying to get us to put those amounts down as carryovers, and you'll know what they're gonna carry over into for your community enhancement. If for some reason you're sick in December, you just cannot meet with the chief of staff for whatever reason, it doesn't happen. Your community enhancement funds will get carried over into your account, but it will move to capital. It will not stay. If you want to keep those funds as a community enhancement, you need to specify what you're carrying it over into. It could be any other community enhancement in the following year. It could be, I'm having a spring splash, spring social, spring whatever, and I have funds, I'm gonna carry over $2,000 to the next year, and you just have to get it to the chief of staff, who gets that to our director of finance, and then you're all good. Question?
Yes, so, did I understand it correctly that the enhancement part, that 37,500, if anything is remaining, we can allocate it to next year's enhancement?
Yeah, specific, yes.
Next year, we
That-
have
that-
fresh pot of 37.5.
Uh-huh.
And this can be added, like maybe 5,000 remaining from this year from enhancement, we can add to that and make it 42.5?
Yeah, that's where current, yes, that's what our current ordinance states.
Okay, I thought that goes
But
to
it has to
your
be
capital.
specific. No,
Okay, okay, good. I'm good.
no, we just clarified if you, on page, non-capital disbursements. So you see E, procedures, and then non-capital disbursements. And the reason we wanted to do this at this time is because we have a lot of time to get it done by December, but legal can take a look at joining the two, what we have before and what we have in addition, and put those together and make sure there's no conflicting language. But
Can we add that in the language that you mentioned, so it's clear to everyone? Because that's. Not written here clearly.
Yeah, we will make sure there's no conflicting language. Like I said, we are marrying the two. So we're taking out number 9, which says funds budgeted in fiscal year 2024. That whole paragraph is leaving.
Yeah. So basically, non-capital can be sent to non-capital for carry forward as a non-capital amount.
Yeah, and here, part of it's in the end of the discussion on 2024. If you look at number 10, and this is kind of a little bit the issue when you do ordinances with specific years, and that specific year is only going to happen one time. and become obsolete. It says funds reappropriated or budgeted from years prior to 2024. Any funds appropriated or budgeted for the use of ward alderpersons for capital improvement purposes prior to 2024, which remain unspent, shall remain available for use of the respective ward alderpersons in the manner provided for the use of capital funds in this section and deposited into the appropriate ward account.
So this should be capital and non-capital, because it says just capital improvement.
Right. But the non-capital must be designated specifically, and it says that
Can we
earlier.
add that line here?
Yeah, it says it earlier. We will, like I said, we'll go over with legal. We just wanted to get something in front of us, get it here so we can discuss it. But we have a full month and a half to get this with legal, get it all straight. And thank you for bringing it up, Alderwoman Bade. So we did take a look at it and remove the 2024 and get some fresh language.
Also,
There.
one more clarification. On the last page, when we say the funds that are not appropriated by December 15th, those go to capital if we don't transfer them to non-capital.
For a specific purpose, yeah.
For specific purposes. They are carried over into ward's capital account only for the next fiscal year. So after that, that money goes to general funds,
No.
or it becomes your
After that, you're
capital
gonna have
reserve?
another meeting in August and do it all over again.
Okay, okay. We will get a chance to discuss whether we want to.
Every August. Yeah.
Allocate it. And where is the reserve in this? So we have reserve and we have annual amount. So how are we addressing the reserve?
The reserve is just, you allocate that during your meeting in August. So that's the main thing that you do during your meeting in August. You want to speak to that, Rich?
This is where we encourage the fund balance. We encourage you all to look at capital projects to then make plans with your fund balance, using all the funds that are remaining on your capital side.
We did the current years, but
But you still you didn't do every project.
All of the capital.
All of the monies with all the different projects. So we will work with you to pick all of those capital projects.
and we just have to mention those projects so that money stays
Well,
with
we
the
would
ward.
work with Stacy and her team, or Krista and her team, to encumber the projects. So you have projects going forward, so everyone knows the funds from your ward fund balance that are for capital are going to be for a particular project. You can always go to finance and say, this year, my ward needs something different,
Okay.
a different capital project. I would like to reallocate this encumbered funds for this different capital project, if that comes up.
And every year we have to do the same.
Well, every year it's been encouraged. It doesn't mean everyone has had the opportunity to do that every year. As much as we encourage all the funds allocated to the aldermanic ward fund folks to pick their projects.
Okay. So we will, of course, this is just being held here. We're going to get more insight from legal and go over the mirroring of this as we take out 2024 and move this forward. So,
Mr. Chairman?
any other questions at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my question is regarding section 9. So if you're saying remove section 9, it does have language in there referencing allocating 2/3 of such funds for capital and 1/3 for non-capital. I thought we had language that's 50 for each, but I don't see that reference in this document.
We changed that.
So where would it be? Should it not be included in this document?
I think there's some confusion. The office refers to your 50/50 account.
No, not 50/50, the splitting of the annual allocation, half capital and half non-capital.
Okay, let me clarify. So you're reading that line, what it says right before that is policy dated June 12th, 2015.
Right, but we changed the allocation split of the 2/3 and 1/3 to 50/50, but I don't see that referenced in this document.
I believe, and we're probably gonna have to bring this up, that figure is in a different location, that was done under the Finance Committee. If you remember, when we did this before, we had a portion that was done by RAP, we had a portion that was done by the Finance Committee. The RAP can only look at the language, but we could not set the figures. That was done by the Finance Committee, who at that time was chaired by Alderman Franco. And so at that meeting, the Finance Committee, we changed the allocation from 2/3, 1/3 to 50/50. And I believe that information is in a different section. So we could bring that section up the next time so we could look at them both. But yeah, if you recall, the RAP committee and the finance, we wanted to do it all at once, but legally we can't. RAP committee can only look at the language, where the finance committee looks at the actual numbers. Okay, so we will hold this here and get more information and start to move forward on that, and we will get to the creme de la creme for the day.
May I ask a question, please?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, so I just want to follow up with Alderwoman Bade's question, and that, as I remember this, and I was very involved in this, the non-capital, when it was a carryover, I remember, but I certainly not always right, was to go into capital. The fact that we're now saying non-capital can stay in non-capital is a better way forward. I like that better, but I don't feel that it's reflected in this document anywhere. So if we could just please be very clear and put that in there so that there is no more question, because my question is, why the heck are we doing this? You know, I mean, we spent so much time, and you're right, we put the date on it, so it kind of forced us to do this. But we spent a lot of time a lot of painstaking hours to get this right, and updating it is a good thing, but I don't read it as non-capital gets to go into non-capital. So if we could just be real clear with that, that would be great.
Yeah. Like I said, we will marry that when we talk to legal, marry all the documents together, and remove the obsolete 2024 language. So thank you for that, Alderwoman Smith.
I also had one suggestion. We have 2 new ward aldermen, and they may have some projects in mind and they may not. So if we are going to handle the capital projects, if we don't have a specific project, will that go to general funds? It'll be good to have clarification for everyone as well as the new aldermen. I'm talking about the capital reserve fund, not the current year's fund. That's what is in one of the emails. That's what I understood. So if you can please clarify that, that will be great.
So you want a little bit more clarification on what happens in the August meeting?
So general
I
funds
mean, we
from
don't
this
state
year.
that in our ordinance, but
This year, we have reserve, non-capital, and capital. So we spoke about capital and non-capital. The reserve, we have to allocate some projects. if those projects, if people don't have the projects, does that money go to capital of ward funds, or it goes to general funds?
Okay, you move that money in your August meeting with your chief of staff. Every August.
They can't touch your reserves.
All your funds.
So it will stay
There.
with the ward capital funds, as ward capital funds.
Can I chime in on that? a
Yeah,
little
I
bit?
think you're.
So
and-
you're worried about you losing money to the city, to the mayor's office?
Right.
That's what you're worried
Correct.
about?
Yes.
That can never happen without our approval. That just can never happen unless we vote on that to happen. You're gonna go all in the capital funds if you don't use your money, but they don't get any of it unless the city council passes a resolution that says, if you don't spend your money, it's going back to the general fund, and that's impossible unless we say it's okay. So you know,
Okay.
I think
but-
that was the concern.
Yeah. But, of course, you're budgeting money ahead of time. So in your April meeting, you are budgeting your money August 2025 for 2026. So on December 31, 2025, you've already budgeted your money for 2026. There is no, you've already budgeted anything in reserve, you've already budgeted. It's already budgeted, finance knows about it, it's done for 2026.
Okay.
So nothing happens on December 31, 2025 with your reserve. You've already passed it on to 2026.
Okay,
You're doing it
just clarifying.
5 months ahead of time.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay. All right. Let's get into 25-0779, ordinance amending and adding sections 2-185, 15-130, 15-320, 15-321, 15-322, and 15-354 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Aurora pertaining to the disclosure of economic interests, campaign contributions, lobbying, and the use of city property and the city seal.
Thank you, Chairman. That's a mouthful to get through, so thank you so much. Good afternoon, members of the Rules Administration and Procedures Committee. This is Shannon Cameron, Chief of Staff. Today, I'm presenting the Aurora Ethics Omnibus Ordinance. It's a comprehensive reform package designed to modernize our ethics code, align with state standards, and reinforce the city's commitment to transparency, accountability, and integrity in government. This ordinance strengthens existing rules, fills gaps, and establishes clearer and more enforceable safeguards for both elected officials and staff. So the purpose of this ordinance is to strengthen the integrity and transparency of the city government. By doing everything I just said, the reform consolidates and updates multiple sections of the city code that currently exist that deals with ethics, campaign contributions, disclosures, and the proper use of city resources. Many of these provisions were passed many years ago and then updated most recently in 2019. And while they represented a major step forward at the time, we're looking to align more with state law, and there's increased public accountability standards have evolved since then. The new ordinance purpose is threefold: simplify and strengthen compliance by removing some of the outdated or redundant language and aligning Aurora's requirements with the Illinois Governmental Ethics Act, the State Officials and Employee Ethics Act, and the current Illinois finance law. Number two, increase transparency for the public. Though mandatory electric filings through mandatory electronic filings, online postings of disclosures, which we do now, and clearer definitions of what must be reported. So expanding what is reported. Three, promote public confidence in city leadership by establishing clear limits on political contributions, closing loopholes as best we can, and regulating lobbyist activity and use of city property for political purposes. The overreaching goal is to make Aurora's ethics system more consistent, enforceable, accessible, ensuring every public official, employee, and candidate operates under the same clear and transparent rules. In short, the ordinance isn't about adding bureaucracy. It's about reinforcing integrity. It's about making sure the city's decisions are guided by the public interest, not private influence. So, to understand this ordinance, it's helpful to look at how far we've come since 2019. In 2019, the ordinance was Aurora's first comprehensive ethics reform in nearly a decade. It introduced basic standards of conduct, conflicts of interest, and campaign disclosures. But since then, Illinois law and public expectations have shifted, and the city needs to catch up. The new 2025 ordinance does several important things that move Aurora's ethics framework into full alignment with best practices. Sorry about that. The 2019 ordinance required limited economic interest filings. The 2025 version broadens these to include spouses and minor children, outside employment relationships, real estate holdings within 1.5 miles of the city and in the city, and sources of income over $2,500 from entities doing business with the city of Aurora. It adds annual electronic filings by January 31st, with explicit penalties for late or false filings. It has stronger campaign contribution limits. The old ordinance contained general limits but lacked enforcement clarity. The new law caps contributions at $500 from any person or entity with a city contract. And it explicitly aggregates contributions from subsidiaries, affiliates, parent companies, and reimbursed employees to close any possible loopholes. It also prohibits soliciting or accepting donations on city property and bans anonymous or cash contributions over $150. Regulation on lobbyists. Aurora has no formal local lobbyist registration requirement. In 2019, it still does not. The new section now mandates some registration and disclosure for anyone lobbying on behalf of another party, bringing the city in line with state and large municipality standards. 4, regulation of city property and the city seal. The 2025 ordinance introduces a new safeguard that prohibits the use of city resources, including facilities, logos, and the official seal, for political or commercial gain. This protects the integrity of taxpayer-funded assets. 5, streamlined enforcement and transparency. It ties definitions and enforcement authority to existing state frameworks, reducing duplication and improving consistency. Together, these updates transform Aurora's ethics code from a static, partly redundant ordinance into modern, enforceable, and transparent system. These ensure that Aurora continues to lead with integrity, not just complying with the law, but setting a higher standard of public trust. Why reform is needed. There are several key reasons why these ethics reform are both necessary and timely. First, Illinois campaign finance and ethics statutes have expanded, covering many of the disclosure and contribution areas that used to be handled uniquely by the city of Aurora. Our previous local ordinance has therefore become a bit redundant, but sometimes inconsistent or incomplete in certain sections. This update removes duplicative language and aligns Aurora's requirements with state standards under the Illinois Governmental Ethics Act and the State Officials and Employees Ethics Act. It reforms and modernizes outdated procedures. For example, we currently do electronic filing. We did establish that fairly recently. Well, Madam Clerk, when did we establish electronic filing? Do you remember the year?
I believe it was last year.
Yeah, so within this past year, we have modernized that. But we're establishing now clear timelines for new candidates. These updates make compliance easier, enforcement stronger, and the process more transparent for residents. Third, the new ordinance strengthens accountability through enforceable limits and definitions. It tightens who is considered a covered person, expands an economic interest disclosure to include spouses and dependents, and clarifies what is considered a gift, loan, or a conflict of interest. This ensures that no one can claim ambiguity when it comes to ethical obligations. And most importantly, this reform responds directly to the community expectations for integrity and transparency in government. Residents have made it clear they want clearer campaign finance rules, greater oversight on public officials, and government that leads by example. By taking this step, Aurora demonstrates that we hold ourselves to the same high standards we expect of others, promoting trust, fairness, and transparency at every level in City Hall. This slide has some the broader disclosures. Under Section 2-185, we're broadening all the required disclosures covered individuals now need to report. Any outside employment and whether that employer does business with the city of Aurora. any real estate interests in Aurora or within 1.5 mile radius of the city limits. 1.5 miles outside the city limits. Ownership or income over $2,500 from entities that do business with the city of Aurora. Serve as an officer, board member, or trustee for city-funded organizations. Gifts, loans, or services over $150 from anyone seeking or doing business with the city. These filings will now be done just once a year, opposed to 4 times a year as they're done now, electronically each January 31st, with public posting and penalties for late or false reports. Covered person, wanted to cover this definition, aligns with state law, including any current elected official or anyone who becomes a candidate for elected office once they begin circulating petitions. Newly covered individuals must file their first disclosure within 15 days, ensuring prompt compliance and consistency with state requirements. One of the most significant reforms is a new $500 campaign contribution cap. Any business or individual that has or seeks a city contract will be limited to a $500 in total contributions to a candidate or office holder. This limit prevents large or recurring donations from influencing decision-making, creating a level playing field for all. This reform also helps close a common workarounds we've seen elsewhere. Contributions from subsidiaries, parent companies, affiliates, or reimbursed employees will all be aggregated as one entity, meaning the $500 limit still applies. No matter how it's routed, the cap cannot be exceeded. Clean money, clear records, that's the guiding principle. I think I'm one behind, sorry about that. Here's some do's and don'ts over this. Do limit any single contribution from a person, business, or entity, that's the $500 per election cycle. Make contributions only through a registered political committee as defined under state law, no personal or informal transfers. Ensure all donations are traceable and properly documented with the contributor's legal name, employer, and address. Comply with all filing and reporting requirements for political committees under the Illinois State Board of Elections. When in doubt, consult the city clerk or legal department before accepting or processing a contribution. Don't accept or solicit anonymous donations. Every contribution must have a verified source. Accept cash contributions over $150 per person per election cycle. Don't solicit, deliver, or accept political contributions on city property or while performing city duties. Section 15.322 makes that explicitly unlawful. Use affiliated entities, subsidiaries, parent companies, officers, or reimbursed employees to sidestep that $500 limit. These are treated as one aggregated donor under Section 15.321B. And lastly, don't use city-funded resources, email, equipment, or facilities in any campaign activity. These rules ensure that every dollar in Aurora's elections is transparent, traceable, and free of undue influence. The intent is not to limit participation, it's to make sure that participation happens on a level playing field. Next, regulation of lobbyists. One of the new and important additions in the omnibus ordinance is the regulation of lobbyists, something that wasn't previously addressed in the 2019 Ethics Code. Section 15.321 establishes a local framework for lobbying registration and disclosure. Any person who is paid or compensated to influence decisions by the city council, its committees, or city staff, whether on contracts, policy, zoning, procurement, or legislation, is now considered a lobbyist and must register with the city clerk. Here's what that change means. Individuals or firms engaging in lobbying must be registered, file a registration form listing their employer clients and the specific matters they're seeking to influence. There's an annual renewal. Registration must be renewed annually and updated whether there are changes in clients' compensation or lobbying activities. Public access, all lobbyist registrations and reports will be posted publicly through the city's online transparency portal, allowing residents and reporters to see who is lobbying, whom, and on what issues. Gifts and contribution restrictions. Lobbyists are prohibited from offering gifts, loans, or campaign contributions in excess of what is allowed under the ordinance. Accountability and penalties. Failure to register or disclose required information can result in suspension, fines, or disqualification from lobbying city officials. The new section brings Aurora in line with Chicago, Naperville, and other large municipalities that already have local lobbying rules. It gives our residents and council members confidence that all advocacy is disclosed, regulated, and free from hidden influence. In short, this reform doesn't stop anyone from speaking to government. It just ensures that when someone is being paid to influence city council, the public knows about it. City property and city seal. Section 15354 introduces important new safeguards for how city property and official symbols can be used. This section directly addresses public concerns about blurred boundaries between government resources and political activity. The intent is simple: to ensure the taxpayer-funded assets are used for the political good, public good, not political, commercial, or personal gain. So here's what the anticipated impacts and what it does. In short, this is a very long presentation, it prohibits campaign activity on city-owned or city-leased property. That includes using offices, facilities, meeting rooms, city email accounts, or equipment for campaign contributions, fundraising, or political organizing. It bars solicitation or acceptance of political contributions on city premises or during the performance of city duties. A critical separation between the official service and campaign work. It protects the city's official identifiers, such as the city seal, logo, name, and insignia from being used in political advertisements, private businesses, promotions, or materials that might imply official endorsement by the city or your office. It also requires prior written authorization from the city clerk or designated official for any non-governmental use of the seal or logo, ensuring consistent branding and legal protection. Why does it matter? Well, in the past, there's been gray areas. When campaign flyers, social media posts, or event signage blurred the line between city activity and campaign work, Section 15354 closes those gaps by clearly defining misuse and assigning accountability. Violations may result in disciplinary action, referral to the Ethics Commission, or other sanctions depending on the nature of the misuse. These provisions also give the city a clear legal basis to demand removal or correction of unauthorized materials. So, that all being said, sorry for the very long speech, this just quickly goes through some of the old approach and new approach, which I think I've gone into in great detail, but that it is as a quick glance at some of those changes and updates. And my desired action today is that you approve the proposed ordinance to city and move it onto committee of the whole. But of course, I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns and hear any statements about this important omnibus. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the detailed presentation. Of course, we will open this up for questions and comments, first from the committee, then from the colleagues who are also here. Knowing our time constraints and in my mind, I knew we would not get through this matter before our 5 o'clock meeting. This will definitely be held at this juncture, so don't try and cram 15 questions into, 5 minutes. There's a lot to discuss here. We're going to get through it all. So I'm going to start with just some very quick bullet points, and then we'll open it up to the rest of the committee. So I just wanted to follow, because we had a brief discussion earlier today. We talked about the cash limit of $150. Can you just let us know if any other municipalities have, and I'm just looking at the number, $150 cash limit. Do other municipalities have a higher number, or how did we come up with 150?
Other there's various standards. Would you like me to give you I can email this whole, I can email the whole council some varieties of different ones. I'm not sure of how many municipalities. Your Dana, do you happen to know that? She's over there. She's here to answer questions, so is Madam Clerk. but
Well,
I
if you-
can,
if
I can
ha-
let you know.
Yeah, if you have another municipality that
Mm-hmm.
has the 150 mark, and you could just add the list to the Legistar, and we
absolutely.
can have that,
Yep.
that would be good. I just wanted to see, and this was a personal thing, which I shared
No,
with
it's fine.
one of
Um,
my colleagues today, so
I think I
please.
can answer the second part of the question.
Go ahead and
not
state your
the
title
first.
for us, please, for the record.
Your Dana Wysocki Corporation Counsel. So the
Thank you.
150 was because of the state limits, or the state requirements for disclosure. Okay, so that's why 150 was picked. At 150 for cash contributions, you need to disclose that with the state. Okay, so we picked the same numbers so that it wasn't like you had to keep track of a different number in your head, when receiving a cash contribution. As for what other municipalities are doing, I don't know. I didn't do a comprehensive
Okay.
review of things. I do know that that I think the city of Chicago is actually a little lower. I think it's 100, but I'd have to double check that to see if that's still current.
Our best aim throughout this process was to align it more to the state.
Okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get nitpicky,
Okay.
and correct me if I'm wrong. I think what the guidelines from the state says, you have to report it if it's over 150.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
over.
So we
Right.
so we tried to match it. So
Right.
I guess if you want to say 150 or 151, or if you want to change it to
Mm-hmm.
over 150. I mean, I think that's a fairly minor change, but yes, you are correct.
Okay.
It's the 150. That's where that comes from.
Okay.
And again, you can still receive check or credit card contributions, just,
Mm-hmm.
it's just cash.
Understandable, and I shared this very, very briefly, and we'll get to other people. I had just a personal reason, this is
Yeah.
what it came to my mind. My dear mother-in-law, I was running for office, and she wanted to help out her son-in-law and handed me a couple of $100 bills or 300, or whatever it was, and I said, no, please write a check to the correct party. And that's weird saying that to your relative, but it is what it is. You got rules, and even our dear mother-in-laws and our dear maybe grandmothers who don't understand why you have to do that. Well, you just got to write a check, and we can't take the cash. So that's the reason I asked the question. I'll have many others, but I'll open it up to the committee first. Any committee members? Alderman
I
Barrero.
have a ton of questions. I'm going to ask one or two.
Okay,
And let.
kind of like budget.
I got a whole page full. I think it's good to have reform. I guess in my mind, my question is, if we can look at side by side, how this is going to affect us, and are we going to be buried in additional paperwork, right? We have to file with e-file with the county. We have campaign committees that they have to file with the state, and then we got this. And I mean, I would like to see, what is it that we're filing now? What's being asked of us, and how, because I want to see what that, you're saying we have to do this, what's going to save us time, because instead of doing it 4 times, now we're only doing it once. But what we're doing right now is pretty simple. What is this going to look like now? That's what I would like to see. And then the other thing is, I'd like some more clarity on some of these things, just to be able to get a handle on it.
Okay, if you want to send me any of those questions specifically, I can respond and then send them to everybody, because I'm sure
Yeah,
your
it's
questions.
just for example, when you're looking at the state, they're talking about contribution limits, but they're also by period. You know what I'm saying? So are you talking about, is this forever, or is this just 1 year? I think there's going to be some more clarification as to what you're talking about.
Yeah, the ordinance itself says election, the election year, but we'll put in specific ideas of what that might look like in there. We can clarify that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'd be calendar year. I mean, that's why it's January 31st.
More questions, I'm going to let,
Yeah.
because we got time, we have to get out of here by 5.
Thank you.
Alderman Bate.
Thank you, Chairman. So the current presentation does not address contributions from PACs. Given the municipal elections in Aurora are nonpartisan, it is essential that we impose reasonable limits to PAC contributions to avoid undue influence and preserve the integrity of electoral process. So I want to make sure we add that to this.
Okay, yeah, we can take that
And
in
why is it not
consideration,
added?
adding PACs in there, yeah.
The second thing is, we must ensure that safeguards are in place to prevent pass-through contributions. For example, an entity donates to a PAC, which then contributes to a candidate as a workaround to avoid contribution limits. So how are we addressing that? This undermines the intent of this whole regulation.
Great, thank you.
Right. Third thing I had, sorry, I have multiple things. The current setup creates a big loophole, and that could incentivize entities to donate strategically to disqualify a candidate. So currently there is a limit. If $500 is being contributed to your candidate, the other candidate can be given $501 just to get disqualified because there is no rule for that.
So just to clarify, we can't disqualify candidates. So the city council, the city doesn't have that authority. We can't disqualify candidates.
So penalties are there?
So just so we're clear on what the city's authority is, the state and the electoral board and so forth are the bodies that can disqualify a candidate or remove them from the ballot, which that's what you're talking about. What we can do is we can penalize them through other means, but we cannot remove them from the ballot, okay? So I want to, because
Thank
there's
you for clarifying
yeah,
that.
there's a difference in how they're penalized for violating the ordinance, the ethics ordinance, versus how they can be penalized, for violating the election code or the campaign fundraising.
So again, if there is a candidate,
Mm-hmm.
they can have somebody donate $501 to the
Mm-hmm.
opposition party, and get that person penalized. Maybe that person is not even aware that who's contributing that money. So how do we, where is
So-
the rule for that?
So I'm not sure how that set of facts comes about, because I guess you're concerned that someone undermines a candidate by donating a little bit more than the contribution limit, but it's on the candidate not to accept. So it's a two-way street. I mean, when someone hands you a check, if it's more than the contribution limits, then that can't be accepted. But the
So-
contribution limits are, it's by a certain, I mean, cash, it's fairly obvious. If someone, hands you more than the 150, then, or however, whatever number we settle on, or, however you want to do that, that becomes really obvious. So can it disqualify someone? Yes, but if it's handled, by the candidate correctly, then no, it wouldn't disqualify the candidate. And it
Okay.
wouldn't disqualify the candidate just because we don't have that authority.
Let me clarify that for 12 plus 1, the mayor,
Okay.
the elected officials. As council said, we are responsible as elected officials to know and abide by the regulations. Regularly, the straight line regulations are set by the state, Illinois State Board of Elections. So we know as candidates that we must follow their rules. If someone gives you a donation check, whatever, above that threshold, the state says that you need to take care of that. We had a situation a couple weeks ago where someone tried to offer some things. That was referred to quickly to our legal counsel. They gave us insight on how to handle it, and we moved forward for those people who were asked to accept something. So, as elected officials, we're responsible at the state level, at their threshold. We're adding some additional things at the city level, but it's not changing the concept at all. If you get a check, donation, whatever, that is above the threshold of the state and/or the city, as an elected official, you're responsible, or candidate, and I want to talk a little bit about that. It's your responsibility to know that. You have to report it to the state. You have to report a little bit to the city, but not very much. You have to report it to the state. So we're not diving into new territory here. Every elected official has to do that, not only in this city, in every city across this state. So we are the ones who are responsible. We just want to make sure things are clear, so we are crystal clear on what we do. We want our city council, all 12 of us, plus the third floor, the mayor, to be responsible and, to be ethical. And we don't want the city of Aurora to, be discussed or involved in things that aren't ethical. So we want everyone to understand. Like I said, there's a lot to swallow here. So we're going to go through this meticulously, go through it, everyone understands it, and get some good, solid wording on the ordinance on the books. One question I had, you talked about candidates, and we're definitely going to need clarification on this. So, because you added in a clause of when they start passing
Circulating petitions.
Yep.
Okay. Because a candidate can go ahead and file for the state board and get a PAC, okay, in their name, friends of Bobby Jones, and start soliciting contributions. Start soliciting contributions from entities who have business with the city. But it looks like under what we're proposing here, they will not be covered yet. Maybe because they're starting to pass petitions in a month, but they're collecting check after check after check from entities who are doing business with the city. They become under our authority in a month when they start passing petitions, but they've already violated the essence of our ordinance before that. So we would definitely need to, and we unfortunately had a situation like that, someone who was collecting checks before they became a candidate. And, we want, as you said, a level playing field, everyone to be on the same level. So if we can't collect those checks from people doing business with the city, neither should some outside candidate who's going to be seeking office, and they've collected however much ahead of time.
Oh, Chairman Buck, can I piggyback on that?
Yes,
thought?
please.
Just real quick, so you want to be in compliance with the state, but the state does not require you to report until you hit a $5,000 threshold. So, we can't be saying we might be with the state and then we're saying, hey, you don't have any money, but you got to report now because you're filing petitions. So I hear what you're saying, but we also have to look at how does this really work, And people are out there raising money, but if they raise $500, they don't have to open up a campaign, establish a campaign committee and file reports until they hit $5,000. I would like to see more alignment in that regards too, because it doesn't seem fair, because this is not, other people throughout the state are not subjected to this type of threshold that you're proposing, just because they're circulating petitions.
Okay, so two things. So just so you're aware, the election code it has been amended to changed, they tweaked the definition of candidate, so, just so you're aware. And the definition that's proposed here is consistent with the new definition. So that's, just so you're aware of that. I will say that the disclosure requirements that are being proposed in this ethics ordinance are much, the thresholds are much lower than what is required by the state of Illinois.
Correct.
Okay, so I agree with you 100% there. That was a deliberate choice. But and Alderman Bug, I agree with you that there's this gray area that's not covered by the ordinance. So the kind of the question is like, do we want, if we expand the definition of candidate to capture this period before petitions are circulated, or previously it was when you filed your nominating papers. So which are, there's separate periods of time. So if we're expanding that definition of candidate, like, do we want to change the disclosure requirements to match the state? Do we want to, keep them? Do we want to have a little broader disclosure requirements because, we want to have more information publicly available? These are all kind of policy decisions that the city council, and this committee need to make. But I know what you're saying about the candidate thing, and there's different definitions of candidate that certainly are used in different places in the election code and the campaign finance. So we can, I guess, we can propose some alternatives and see how you want, what you guys want to do with it.
Okay. Alderman Benuelos, do you have anything at this time?
Yeah, I just had a quick question regarding that $500 cap. Was that just any person that's going to be doing business with the city? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Or entity, that are affiliated entity.
Okay. You have one more, Alderman Bade, and then we'll,
I had a few questions on the presentation.
okay.
So, definition of covered person, again, somebody will get back to us. Is it whether they're filing or after they're done filing?
This is consistent with Illinois election law. That's, so that's that. But yes, if we want to change it for our purposes to something, of a different threshold, that can be done.
Okay. And the other thing was, what all comes under pass-through donations that is mentioned here? So if you can add all the items that you thought
Give you a
is
couple
covered.
examples?
Yeah, examples. And treatment of affiliates and reimbursements. It's on page 4.
Mhm.
Again. So
Sorry, I don't know what page I'm on
affiliates,
there.
Oh, not the ordinance, sorry.
I would
Another
like
one?
to have more clarification on that one.
Of what
On
matter?
the,
I didn't.
There was one thing mentioned about the affiliates and the reimbursements as a single donor for the purpose of contribution limits. Does this include like the campaign material reimbursement? What does it include?
Whether it's in-kind contributions,
Yeah.
is that what you're asking?
Is that what it is?
Correct, that is one kind, yes, but there's different regulations for in-kind, as far as I understand. But I can spell that out more clearly and give examples as well on that.
Okay. And on page 7, if we can go there, the regulation reference real estate ownership within Aurora and 1.5-mile radius, including that of candidates' spouse or minor children. What is the basis for 1.5 mile?
That's the city's planning jurisdiction.
Okay. And the other is, why are children being included in this?
Anyone who lives in your household. So that's why. So that it's just a way to include everyone who is living with the candidate.
And does that also include family members?
Well,
Like
I would include,
siblings,
yeah.
parents?
So we can define it, but the goal was to capture anyone that was in the household. So, I mean, spouses, I think, are the obvious ones, and we don't want to get too overly broad here for, obvious reasons that,
But we could change it to
we can-
members of the household.
we can tweak that. However, I'm not married to the language there. The goal was to make sure that, like, the candidate wasn't using a, family member as a proxy.
Okay. And probably I'll finish with this one, and maybe I can ask later if there is time. The proposal includes a provision related to individuals who receive more than 2,500 in income from entities doing business with the city or just being an Aurora business. I didn't understand that part. How was 2,500 determined, and whether it applies to part-time, one-time, or annual income, or monthly ongoing income? And
It would be within the year, $2,500, over $2,500 within the year.
so it could be candidate's other job,
Mhm.
and if the person is making more than 2,500 annually, they have to report
Yeah, they have to disclose
the
that.
amount, or just that
Disclose that they're
working?
making more than the 2,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop here for now, and maybe I'll ask later.
Okay. Okay, that's it for the committee. Let's move on.
You said a quick follow-up?
Yeah, real quick, because I want to get to our colleagues.
Just on the economic disclosure, so candidates, when they're getting petitions and then they file the nominating papers, at that time is when they file their economic disclosure statements. So this seems a little bit, you're trying to get ahead of them before they're even filing. I kind of trying to get my mind around that, because, they may be circulating in collecting signatures, they may not file. That happens a lot.
That's true,
So
that
this-
they may
this
not
15
file, they may, but it holds people to a certain standard to know
What
that when
exactly
they
are they
do
filing, though?
file.
What exactly are they filing, though? They're circulating petitions, oh, now you have 15 days to file this. What exactly are they filing?
So they'll be similar to a form that you guys fill out, except it'll be expanded at that point. So you fill out the quarterly form, it'll be an expanded yearly form. They'll need to file it within 15 days of starting to circulate.
So will this be part of the packet they pick up at the city clerk's office? If anybody's running for office,
Yeah.
this is part of the packet now, so they know and they don't have to search for it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'll add, I believe on the clerk's portion of the webpage, I believe she had language on, you can come into the clerk's office, you can go to this link here to get information. So you didn't necessarily have to go straight into the clerk's office. That information is also online. So when somebody, I hope when they start to look, hey, I want to run for office, I hope they go to the City of Aurora site and the clerk's site, and they, start to ask their questions, and the answers will be there for them. Okay, so let's open this up to our colleagues. I think Alderman Franco will have you go first, and then we'll go around the dice.
So I was on the committee that did the last ethics reform. And I won't go into detail because that would take hours because we did it for a long time. The gist of it was, we thought the state of Illinois did a fine job with this whole process. We left it to their parameters because we felt that was fair and reasonable, not putting the burden on our clerk and everybody else here to look at these specific amendments and have to enforce these different things for our purposes. Why would we give them more work to do when the state of Illinois already does it? We're talking about, and this is the conversation we had before, we're talking about limiting the support that a local business can give to somebody up to $500. Because, in your words, it's got to be a level playing field. Explain to me how that's not a level playing field, that we're going to cap them. I want to hear that, because when I see a billionaire governor give tens of thousands of dollars to a candidate here, to me, that's not a level playing field. So I need to hear about what the philosophy is in this, because if somebody's in our town doing business here, they should have more support for a candidate than somebody in Springfield. So explain this level playing field to me, because it doesn't make any sense. Why we're cherry picking certain things from the state, which we say are great to have, but other things we want to change. I'm not getting how we're coming to that conclusion.
So the hope for this ordinance and the hope for looking at this in general is that there's that when people are putting forward city contracts, that there's not undue influence that they're paying for by supporting a candidate.
So you're saying that if somebody takes money from somebody doing, they're potentially illegal? Because if my neighbor gives me $50 and he calls me and says, Alderman Franco, now that you're in office, I'd like you to get my sidewalk fixed. There's expectations. So anybody that gives you money, you can make that case that they could be influenced by somebody. So basically what you're saying, the person down the street may not influence you, but this other person, well, I just think that's basically condemning anybody that takes money from them for potential abuse. And the state has a cap on that. So I'm not sure why we're doing that, but we're not talking about politics, how a Republican Party or a Democratic Party gives much more than a business. Isn't that influence too? So this is the problem I have with the philosophy on this. We're singling out certain things because other people couldn't get money for them because maybe they were anti-capitalism or whatever, and now we're going to cherry pick on that? It just doesn't seem right. So I really want us to go back and think about what we're doing here instead of condemning those that get basically money for doing the right thing, saying, well, we don't want that because it's not fair, even though I'm taking millions of dollars from, or hundreds of thousands of dollars from Springfield. That's my comment. I think we need to take a look at all of that, because what we're doing now is really cherry picking who we want in office and who we don't. That's what this is about. There's no question about it. That's my comment. I have no questions. I just want to throw that out there.
Okay, well, I'll clarify on that. We are talking about businesses in the city of Aurora who are doing businesses, and we, as the elected officials, vote on them either getting a contract, not getting a contract, if they're going to have employment here and their workers are going to have employment or not. It is the influence that funds can have on those decisions. This isn't not the first body that's brought up these types of things, and we won't be the last. So if a business wants to give to a candidate and you're doing business with the city, that is fine, up to a set dollar amount. It's our job to come to what that dollar amount will be. If I put in, we do it every day. I put in for a engineering contract. One engineering firm versus another, you go through it, and engineering firm A has given X amount of dollars to a certain elected official, and engineering firm B has given another amount to an elected official. This is designed so that those figures, for the most part, are taken out of that equation. Can you support a person who is a candidate or an elected official? The answer is yes. But will that amount be capped to an amount? The answer to that is also yes. It's our job to figure out what that amount will be. I don't think we need to debate if someone gets whatever figure, $50,000 from engineering firm A. That could and probably would influence in some way how you would vote. I don't say how you could look at that and say it wouldn't influence you in some way if they donated $50,000 to your PAC or whatever. So that is just, I'm just giving you the broad overview on that one point. If you want to know the reason why, that is the reason why. So
I have a million questions, but I'll give more of a statement than a question. And just to follow up with Chairman Bug, unfortunately, that type of politics happens all over our country. So we're not any different here in Aurora, although I understand that this is the attempt here. So you said, both of you, over and over again, we're trying to align ourselves up with the state standards. So I challenge you to bring back, with this presentation, side by side, the state standard and what you're proposing. Because I have the state standard right here, and how it aligns to what you're proposing are vastly different. So I think we need to talk apples to apples, because I think there are people that sit up here that don't know what the state standard is versus what we are proposing. Because what we are doing here, remember, we are the second largest city in the state of Illinois, and we are barely adequately allowing candidates to raise the money that it costs to run for a race. It is very expensive to run for a political race. I understand the business part of it, and I respect that. But I think if you're going to sit up here and tout state standard, let's put it in front of everybody so that we all see it.
Sure, we can do that. I just want to clarify. It's the portion of the state that we are following. We have higher standards for amounts, for sure, in this. What is we're aligning are the disclosures, and trying to disclose more information around about work, things like that. If you've filled out our economic interest form, it is very brief right now.
I've been here.
And so
I've
it's
done that. I have no
it's
problem
including
with the
that.
disclosures. I have no problem
So
with
that's what
you
we're
said.
aligning more to the state,
Yeah.
is that portion, but happy to frame
well,
that out.
Because that was not clear
Yeah.
today. Because the disclosures, I have no problem. I think that there's some loose ends, but I have no problems with any of that. What I do have a problem with is to stand here and say we're aligning with state standards, and we're really not. So I really
On a
think
portion
it's
we are,
only-
and some is harder.
So
Some
if
is
we
more
could- So if we
more
could just
difficult.
put it in here, put it in the presentation, so as we
Sure.
move forward through this, we know we've got everything in front of us, not just what is handpicked to be put in here. So thank you so much.
Alderman Nunez.
Appreciate it, Chairman. The chairman made a comment about level playing field, and I am all for carrying us to a higher ethical level. But when we look at candidates, even with the most recent election cycle that we went through, and especially those grassroots candidates that maybe didn't make it to the ballot or didn't get to that finish line, how does this create a level playing field for those that may not have the exposure to this world to even have an opportunity to run, not just for, well, we're talking about this body here. So how do we give them that opportunity with this?
I think it, I'm not sure that this necessarily addresses that, but I give, my best attempt at that answer is that it allows for a more level playing field, where people that may have already have power and influence, as anybody does around this dais has, whether how much you realize or not, that it allows for those businesses and entities to not give over that certain amount that would level the playing field for those that are more grassroots aligned. I would say that are as well. But you can have a million donors under a certain amount. So if you're good on your game, you still can raise a lot of money.
Yeah. My second question is regarding the use of city property and seals. So again, totally agree. I should not be wearing, I don't have a logo on right now, but should not be using that logo. But if I want to host a golf outing at Phillips Park, am I now not allowed to host a golf fundraiser for my PAC at Phillips Park?
So that would be correct.
That's a good point.
I would clarify, it's
Soliciting.
unauthorized use. So if your PAC pays to do the fundraiser there, just like any other organization or individual, so you can't do it as some sort of as an alderman, as a favor or anything like that. You're not going to get a freebie, okay? that would be an unauthorized use. But if you're going to rent it out, and, call, and go through the normal channels, get your whatever permits you need, through special events, and, proceed to host a fundraising there, just like any other non-employee or non-elected official would do, that would be authorized.
So the process of hosting a golf, I apologize.
No,
So
go
the
ahead.
process of going through and scheduling a golf outing, for example, it's usually a contract with the golf course that's then sent to an individual. So if I reach out to Phillips Park and say, I want to host a golf outing for 100 people, we then negotiate, there's the rate that's already there, and then whatever kind of food options I want to give. Let's say it's $80 a person. Now we're talking about an $8,000 golf outing that, whether it's myself or my PAC, would be paying for it. There are no permits, so I'm just trying to make sure. I want to make sure that there's nothing unethical.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying that there's for something that is, it's, what's in the ethics ordinance is the unauthorized use. And I think that, we can, and Shannon, if your view is a little different, but my perspective is, if it's the same as the public, if you come in as the same as a non-elected official or a non-employee, and are treated the same way, if it's handled the same way, then I don't see a problem there.
I will say, and I'll write it down for you, so you have that 15.322 is that section in there. Currently, as it reads, I think it would make that difficult because it is are you accepting political contributions on city property? Then it would consider that. So it's something for the committee to consider, how you want to define that. But, I think to me, it sounds like that case, if you're soliciting contributions, it's a fundraiser for your campaign, then that would be, if it's a fundraiser for another, organization or entity that you want to do, that would be different. It's a soliciting of political contributions. That's that point.
So my personal golf outings, if I were to host them for my PAC, I would then have to take that to Oswego or Bristol or another municipality and take those thousands of dollars that could be going towards.
We're a country club, you could do that, because that's not a city-owned facility.
As it's currently written, that's how I understand it, but, we're in RAP committee to make adjustments and can certainly, hear any amendments to this as well.
Can I ask one more quick thing? I know we've got to
Certainly.
go. So just a hypothetical situation. Let's say someone is a state representative or a senator, and they live in the city of Aurora, and, they have big war chests. And they no longer are going to have their position, and they reside here. And now they're coming here and they're going to run, I don't know, let's say for mayor. They have a huge war chest that came from somewhere else. How does that level the playing field? It's just something that was popping in my head of, okay, that person's going to be so far above and beyond any of us. It's just a hypothetical. You
Yeah.
don't have to answer the question, but it's just something that we have to deal with.
That's Rick Veenstra's favorite hypothetical, but on this, I've heard this before. I've argued with him a little bit on this. So I understand that is something that could happen, because those war chests can be moved from one campaign to another. That is a problem, and there's not I suppose we could build in our ordinance some prohibition on it. I'm not entirely sure how we would enforce it. I don't know that is something we could do. I get it. It hasn't been a problem to date, as far as I know. And so, if that's something that, this committee or the council wants us to look into, we can. But to my knowledge, it hasn't been an issue. But it's something that Rick and I have been discussing over the last couple of weeks, and
So
I
that's with
understand
or,
the
yeah,
concern.
that's with or without this change. But
Without
what
yeah.
happens is our
Yep.
our hands have been tied more for fundraising, whereas theirs have not. So.
Yes, yeah, I understand.
I just want to say one last thing.
I'm sorry,
No, I'm just asking him. I
Very
just wanna-
quickly.
That's fine, I
Very
can't
Because
hear.
we're
So.
a minute over.
With these rules and everything, we want to encourage people to run for offices. So we want to make sure that we are not making it very difficult for new candidates, because there could be some excellent people who want to run and they will never get a chance if there are too many rules, or they're breaking some rules of 15 days, not filing, not knowing them. So if we can clarify those things very nicely, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and if there's, the Rules Committee or any alderman, of course, would like to send me any additional comments or questions, happy to consider those as we work on revision and come back for the held item.
So in closing, and the most important piece, I think, that we have to decide on, those contributions from businesses doing business with the city of Aurora, but that goes both ways, of course. So we're saying to our businesses in Aurora, you can contribute to any 13 people or candidates up to a certain level, or you don't have to. If you want to contribute the max amount, way over whatever that amount is, then you're saying, I do not want to apply for this future city contract. That is on the business. I can donate, I don't say it unlimited funds, but whatever high amount is, I made the decision that we are not going to submit for Aurora business. We're not going to put in our packet. When Ms. Coulter puts that out there, we've decided that we are not going to try and get that contract with the city. We would rather donate whatever amount to the city official, and that is their choice. But like I said, we're not the first ones to approach this. As Alderwoman Smith said, we want to try and remove some of that. Company A donated $50,000, Company B donated $500 to an elected official, and we have to explain why that company who donated that amount got that contract. We want to try and take that out of the equation. So with that, of course, this will be held here. We will discuss. Please send your questions and comments to the Chief of Staff. We have a whopping 6-minute break here. I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Alderman Bade, second from Alderman Barrero. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. All opposed? We are adjourned at 4:54 p.m. See you in 5 minutes.